We're going to call the City Council meeting to order, Monday the 19th of March, 2007, 7:03 p.m. This evening we have Pastor Bill Long from Salvation Baptist Church of Homestead will provide the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, the Police Explorers, and Vice Mayor Lawson. Would you all please stand?
Please join with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to have the invocation, a very brief invocation by Pastor Hart.
May I defer to Linda Bell, please, ma'am?
Councilwoman Bell.
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Precious Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you for this beautiful evening. And Father, as we conduct the business of government, I pray that we would do it with honor, that we would do it with ethics and morality, and that every vote that we cast would be pleasing unto you, Father. Lord, I thank you for every person gathered here tonight, Father. I thank you for your goodness, for your mercy and your grace. In our Lord Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Forward, march.
You may be seated. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Warren.
Here.
Vice Mayor Losner.
Here.
Councilwoman Bell. Here. Councilwoman Garner. Here. Councilman Hodge.
Here.
Councilman Porter.
Here.
Councilwoman Wallman.
Councilwoman Wallman was in Washington and was trapped there at the airport because of the bad weather, so she won't make it this evening. But there's another special report this evening, and that is that on March 14th, a special group of parents gave birth to a special young man, and his name is Councilman Norman Hodge on March 14th. Happy birthday. Additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Mr. Mayor, we'd like to suggest that the first reading of the ordinance on the parking regulations be held before the land use items because it pertains to one of the land use items, and even though it will be only first reading, at least you can have a discussion and determine where you are in that before we get to the land use items. So you could maybe place that on the agenda right after the consent agenda?
Sure.
Move it up. Thank you.
There's also a deferral, Mayor, on tab 3 annexation. That will come back to you on April 2nd. And for information, March 29th, 07, the county is going to have a meeting in regards to whether or not they're going to continue their moratorium or not. So tab 3 has been pulled.
Thank you, sir. On the special presentation, proclamation presentation in honor of the late Jack Rowe, Councilwoman Garner.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Button, will you come help me with this? Many of you may have heard that Mr. Rowe passed away earlier this year. And Mr. Broughton is a good friend of mine, and he came to me and said he'd like to do something, and I thought, you know, it was only right that we recognize him and pay tribute to his commitment to our community. So today we have a proclamation we'd like to present to Mrs. Rowe, and I'll read it to you. Whereas Jack Rowe was born in Miami, Florida, grew up in the Southgate area, and served his country with honor in the U.S. Navy during World War II. And whereas Jack Rowe was a loving husband to Rioma for 60 years, devoted father to Robert, caring grandfather to Theo, and caring brother to Raymond. And whereas Jack Rowe is a legend in the history of Boy Scout Troop 69, and you can see they're here to support him and the family, and was active in the troop for 38 years, serving as Scoutmaster from 1970 to 1980, and became known as the Spaghetti Dinner Man for his famous sauce that helped make the annual fundraising event a huge success year after year. And whereas Jack Rowe established an annual Boy Scout camp-out and hike event in the Ocala National Forest that was soon named Jack's Hike in his honor. And whereas Jack Rowe received many Boy Scout leader honors and awards, including the Silver Beaver Award, Scouters Training Award, Scouters Key, Scoutmaster Award of Merit, District Award of Merit, and the Frank White Jr. Award. Whereas Jack Rowe passed away on January 4th, 2007, and will always be remembered for his years of community service, as well as his dedication to his church and the Scouting program. On behalf of the Mayor and Council, we hereby honor Jack Rowe with this proclamation. All of Troop 69, come on. Moms, dads.
Amanda. You get the front of that TV.
Sure, let's go in the front.
Up front. Everybody up front. Everybody up front. Mr. Rhodes, Leo. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Quite long. Thank you guys for coming.
It means a great deal to us. Down, do you call your place when you see people come in, say the phone stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so apparently what I thought. Let me check this out here.
Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah. There you go.
See you, Mr. Mitchell.
Definitely.
Come on, man.
That was. Okay. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Next on the agenda is the Certificate of Appreciation to the 2007 Mayor's Youth Council trip sponsors. Councilwoman Garner.
Thank you, Mayor. We have lots of members of the Mayor's Youth Council in the audience. Can I get them to come up and help me out? We just want to publicly again thank all of our sponsors. Without their corporate donations, we would not be able to attend this trip. It's approximately $1,000 per student, which covers their food, their hotel accommodations, their airfare, and it's a wonderful trip. And we're going to Boston this year, and we're going to see all kinds of historic sites: Freedom Trail, the State House, tours of Paul Revere's ride, I think government-related things like that. But of course, we'll have a good time as well. And if I could please have John Alger. Is he here tonight? I thought I saw him. We'll make sure this gets to him. We want to thank him. This isn't the first time that he's sponsored us, and we really do appreciate it. I have Mr. Jeff Kadaya from Community Bank of Florida. You guys should recognize him. He's the chairman of the South Dade Red Cross Advisory Board. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Where's our mayor? Come here. This is our mayor, Vanessa Vaquera, from the Mayor's Youth Council. Curtis Gray from Homestead Miami Speedway. We have representatives. Thank you very much. Troy Guild with Flagship Cinemas. And on behalf of our attorney's office, James White. Unable to attend this night, but making a donation was Bob Levy from Robert Levy & Associates and Alex Sanchez with Indigo Properties. Good evening, my name is Vanessa Vaquera, and I'm the mayor of the Mayor's Youth Council, and this is Katie.
Hi everyone. We just wanted to say a few words of thanks. First of all, let me start off by saying good evening to the Mayor, Council, and the City of Homestead. It's been 3 years since we have been joined together, and we are a family now, thanks to the Mayor and everyone involved. And, you know, we'd just like to present certificates of appreciation in honor of their time commitment and monetary support, and their efforts to help us fund our trip to Boston, Massachusetts, which will be upcoming in the spring break. We'd like to thank you, and it comes from the heart.
Okay, thank you.
Gets us talking. Grab this thing.
Thank you, Ms. Garner.
We're next.
As the sponsors are still here, let me just echo what Ms. Garner said earlier, and thank you for your investment in our young people in the community. You will see the dividends later on, but I just want to personally thank each and every one of you for your contribution and helping them go to Boston, Massachusetts this year. Mr. Vice Mayor, proclamation presentation to President Larry Dunnigan recognizing Dade County Farm Bureau's 65th anniversary.
Thank you. Larry, if you'll go ahead and come forward. And, you know, for those of us that know him, Larry's known by many names and many hats, but tonight he's here as President of Farm Bureau and often billed as the world's largest producer of pole beans. So when you enjoy your pole beans, they were probably Larry's. Yeah, it's a momentous occasion in any community when a business reaches a milestone such as 65 years. And although the makeup of this community has drastically changed even in the last 3 to 5 years, agriculture was and is a huge, if not the largest part of the local economy. You may not see it and realize it at first glance, and even though we're now growing houses where corn and potatoes once thrived, if you took the agricultural component out of this community, economically across the board, we'd really be in trouble. And tonight we want to recognize Dade County Farm Bureau on the occasion of its 65th anniversary. Dade County Farm Bureau has been there assisting and been the voice of agriculture for 65 years, and has become a liaison between agriculture and this council and Board of County Commissioners, and a lot of time in Tallahassee, and we just want to take a moment tonight and recognize this achievement. Whereas on March 13, 1942, the Dade County Farm Bureau became the first county farm bureau established in Florida. And whereas 2007 marks the Dade County Farm Bureau's 65th anniversary. And for 65 years, the Dade County Farm Bureau has been an integral part of the agricultural community by bringing growers together to solve issues collectively. And whereas growers depend on the Dade County Farm Bureau's leadership and advocacy efforts to aid them in the regulatory, legislative, and economic and social arenas, and whereas the Dade County Farm Bureau is known as the voice of Dade agriculture for its exemplary efforts to bridge the gap between growers and government and heighten consumer awareness of the safeness, affordability, and abundance of Miami-Dade grown agricultural products. Now therefore, I, Roscoe Warren, the Mayor of Homestead and the City Council, am pleased and proud to proclaim Tuesday, March 13th, were you late again, Larry? Tuesday, March 13th, 2007, as Dade County Farm Bureau Day in Homestead, and urge all citizens to join in thanking the Farm Bureau members and staff on this special day. Thank you, Steve. It could have been a lot worse. You were kind to me. This honor will be proudly, thank you, City of Homestead, Honorable Mayor, Council. This honor will be proudly displayed at our Farm Bureau office. And on a personal note, Homestead has meant a lot to me. If I travel, or when I was off in school, where am I from? I'm from Homestead. I don't live in the city, but Homestead's my town. We have roots here. My dad, Mr. Rhodes, sitting in the audience right there, was down here in the 40s, and where y'all have put up a parking lot now in Washington. My dad had a cement block business there. Miss Campbell, remember that? And really, like I say, this is a personal note, but made a lot of blocks for the city of old downtown Homestead. Again, Homestead is my town. I plan to stay here. I hope to stay in agriculture. And to me, the City of Homestead has extended their hand to where agriculture and the city can get along. And I think that's very important and it must happen. And I'm proud of the city, and I hope agriculture is here for a long time. Thank you very much. Watch it now. Touch me there. It's the subject matter.
You got the message that
Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Homestead Rotary Association donation to Homestead Hospital, Vice Mayor Losner.
It may have occurred to me in preparing for this tonight that this community is as we look, that we're within 90 days, I hope, and from what I hear, of celebrating the opening of the new Homestead Hospital. But it's been well over 65 years, close to 70 years, when this community, its residents and its businesses and its city council came together to make sure that this community had its own hospital, that need was filled. And from day one, back in the late 30s, when Dr. James Archer Smith began the effort to have our own hospital here in Homestead, this community has always supported and been there for the hospital in time of need. And as I've become fond of saying, that there are far more populous and affluent communities who will never have the facility that we're about to see open in the city of Homestead, bar none. We've got probably the newest and one of the finest facilities in the country, if not the world, right here in our backyard. But what's most gratifying to me is that even as large as the facility is and how Homestead has changed, and even though it's changed, a lot of things still remain the same, that the people and the businesses and the organizations in this community remain supportive of the hospital. We've seen some presentations over the past few months. And tonight, I want to introduce, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Homestead, its current president, Margaret Jones. I think it's, is Margaret still here? And I think it's immediate past president. Eric, is that why you're here? Eric Heaton, the immediate past president, to talk about the club's efforts in supporting the hospital and to make a presentation. All yours.
Thank you. If I can get Tom Schramm and Tom Jones up here as well. Vice President and Jen Helms is here too. Some of my board, we're very pleased to present a check to Homestead Hospital for $100,000 to sponsor the chapel. And so thank you. With the monies that we raised through our auction throughout the year, this is where the money came from, and we're very pleased to present this to them.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. As Mr. Porter comes forth with the Office of the Month, let me recognize some very special young folks in the audience this evening, and they're from the ASPRA Public Policy Leadership Program. And ASPRA is designed to provide at-risk youth with leadership training, civic engagement opportunities, and public service awareness. And their pursuit of educational excellence through leadership development programs that emphasize a commitment to the community. Welcome, young folks, to the meeting. Hope you come again, and I hope you have learned something thus far from this august body. Thank you all for coming.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager. Of course, we have Chief Al Roll here, Major Scott Kennedy in charge of our patrol division. Our Officer of the Month for January is Detective Fernando Morales, who we call him Mo. We have his wife Jenny over here and his children. I'll just go over some of the statistics real quickly. During the month, he handled a total of 35 cases. Mo is a burglary detective and also one of our gang detectives, which is a very difficult job at present times. Of the 35 cases, he cleared 7 of those by arrest and took 11 subjects into custody. But again, those are his statistics. He's really here because of what he's done as a gang detective. We have JT Messenger over there in the back. He's a school board police officer with the gang unit with Dade County Public Schools. JT is here for him, because he's getting the Officer of the Month. Mo works very closely with JT, and Mo's been very pivotal, on working with other agencies. We've worked very closely with Dade County Public School Police and the Miami-Dade Police Department Gang Task Force. I'm sure you all are aware that the gang problem is a large problem in the south end of the county, north end of the county, just about everywhere in South Florida. We have to work closely with numerous agencies to get the job done. The gangs and the crimes that occur in the city reach into the county. The gang members that live in the county reach into Homestead. And what Mo has done a great job at is working with the other agencies, getting the task force to hit the streets of Homestead. They've made numerous arrests, gathered a lot of intelligence on the gang problems here. He set up graffiti paintouts. Matter of fact, just recently, Mo and JT gave a presentation at Southridge High School. Southridge wanted Mo to go up there. Also at the Perrine Miami-Dade substation, the people that live in Leisure City and north of Leisure City wanted Mo to come and JT from School Board Police. So they're getting the word out to the public. Again, I could go on and on about his job as a gang detective, but he's done an excellent job, and that's the reason he's our January Officer of the Month.
I asked Mo how he got this award, and he said he promised everybody at the police department free breakfast at his restaurant, Mario's over on US 1 if you want to go. So that's going to cost you, isn't it? Yeah. You know, as a small city, which we're not as small as we used to be, we're blessed with probably some of the finest police officers, from the chief's office down to the newest guy that just got employed, or gal that just got employed. These guys go above and beyond the scope of duties and services that they owe this community, and it's really remarkable to say and to see them in action. And what we do as a community is we try to repay these officers with the Officer of the Month, with just small donations to try to make maybe 1 or 2 nights out enjoyable. But from the business community, we have Awards Inc., which has donated the plaque for us. The City Attorney's Office, Richard Weiss, has a $100 check. First National Bank of South Florida is a $50 savings bond. Community Bank of South Florida is also a $50 savings bond. Ferguson's Jewelry's donated a $75 gift certificate. Ruby Tuesdays is a $25 gift certificate. Global Technologies Partners Inc. is a $50 check. Logos on Old Dixie is a $50 gift certificate. Blake Chevrolet, Dale Blake at Blake Chevrolet is a $300 value lube and oil change detail for your car. Captain Car Wash, also a $20 value free car wash. Mita Jensen has offered up 2 memberships to the Homestead Community Concerts. Homestead Miami Speedway has offered up a $100 check. And we'd like to grow that, and we'll continue to try. And this is the plaque that's offered on behalf of the mayor and the council in the city. Presented to Detective Fernando Morales for being selected Officer of the Month for January 2007. Mo, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mayor and Council. And one of the things that Councilman Porter said was very true, that I don't think this would have happened, me working in another department. Everybody who's here, Sergeant Orbaugh hiding over there, he's my direct supervisor. Come here. Get over here. Sergeant Orbaugh and the chief, majors, and Captain Foglia, and everybody that I have above me that have allowed me to do this, it wouldn't have been possible, and also would have been possible without JT's help, who we've basically grown together in this gang thing, and hopefully we'll continue growing. And I don't know about stopping it, but at least slowing it down a little bit. Thank you.
That's what it was.
His ex-wife's.
I want to say I attended that gang awareness conference, and JT and Detective Morales were fantastic. And I went to do the greeting on behalf of the mayor from the city of Homestead, and I ended up staying. I was going to do the greeting and leave, and when I saw that our officers were up first, I stayed for the entire presentation. It was a 1-hour PowerPoint, and boy, I learned so much. It was tremendous. I didn't get a chance to tell you because I left just as you were fitting, but what a tremendous presentation. Keep it up. Thank you so much. And now I am really up here. I'm presenting on behalf of Judy Waldman, who couldn't be here, the Safety Award Program. And the City of Homestead recognizes 3 employees each month. They must be a full-time employee of the City of Homestead, must be free of accidents and injuries for the preceding 6 consecutive months, must have not received workers' compensation benefits for the preceding 6 consecutive months. And the recognition includes a certificate, a paid day off, a safety badge. Their names are posted for recognition in the main lobby, a $25 check from Weiss, Sirota, and Healthman, and the employees of the month, and they get a day off. Now that's big. The employee of the month goes to Brian Alejandro, the police department, dispatch. He's working right now. And I'm going to work on the Altagracia Baladalik from the Solid Waste Division. Are you here? She couldn't make it either. And William Minor with the Electric Utilities Division.
I'd just like to thank the city for giving these awards. Especially Friday, I won't be here. I'll be on my airboat.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell, for filling in for Ms. Wallman. Appreciate it. We have a quarterly update. The Carrie P. Meek Incubator Business Center, Ms. Hilda Dennis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Hilda Dennis, and I'm the director of the Carrie P. Meek Center for Business. And I just wanted to share some results, some things that's gone on this last quarter. We've provided technical assistance to 45 businesses, 32 business seminars to the community, of which 147 people attended. We also provided 6 business loans, and I know I mentioned last quarter that we submitted a legislative request, a CBRS request for $500,000, and it was sponsored by Representative Robina and co-sponsored by Senator Bullard, but I just want to bring it to your attention because I know Day Days is coming up, so just so when you go out there, you remember that we're out there looking for more money for the incubator. In the past, the center sponsored a business seminar titled How to Do Business with the Super Bowl. And out of that, one of our businesses actually received $30,000 in contracts with the Super Bowl. So they did extremely well, so we're excited. Thank you. The center was recognized this year nationally as one of the centers of excellence with the Entrepreneurship Week that went on. This was the first year that the United States actually dedicated a whole week to celebrate entrepreneurship. And for that, what we did is we provided 2 events. One of our events was a QuickBooks class in which we had sponsored with the First National Bank of Homestead. They provided the space for us, and we provided QuickBooks to small business. It was a great turnout. And also what we provided, there's a project that we're working on in the community. With the youth of the community, we're providing computers, computer mentoring, entrepreneurship, web design. We're teaching the kids how to build their own computers, how to create websites, and at the end of the day, they're being introduced to how to start their own business if they wanted to service computers. And when they finish, they each go home with a brand new computer from Dell. We were able to expand this program. This is in conjunction with the Project Safe Neighborhoods program with Weed and Seed. that we were afforded the funding to do this. Last year, we were able to serve 10 children in Homestead Gardens. This year, it was expanded to 30 children, and we served 15 kids in Homestead Gardens and 15 kids at Merritt Estates in Florida City. We're hoping that this year, we were so successful, we're having a graduation on the 29th for these kids. They have had a ball. They each go home with a brand new desktop computer, a printer, 19-inch flat screen, speakers, and they all have created websites. So at the next meeting, I'll share their website so you can go on ours and see all of theirs. And we were able to take them to Alienware, which is a computer design build company in Kendall, to show them how computers are actually manufactured. And the PR person and some of the managers at Alienware told them if they were 18, they would hire them, because they have more skills than the entry-level people that they bring in. So that was just wonderful for us to take part in. On site, I am now the newest elected member of the Homestead, the Empowerment Trust Homestead Neighborhood Assembly. I was just elected. I will be attending my first meeting as a member in April the 5th. We now on-site at the facility, we have consumer credit counseling services, and they're offered free services to anyone. What we found is there's a need. A lot of our business owners come in and they're ready to move forward with their business, but they may have some credit challenges. So we thought that it would be beneficial for us to have all of the mechanisms right on site that can help them. So now we have consumer credit counseling services at the center every Friday. We have been in discussion with Florida Memorial University and Nova Southeastern University to bring MBA classes to the facility. And it looks like Florida Memorial is going to be the university that's going to come on board. So we're going to offer MBA classes probably by June. We'll have on-site MBA classes every other weekend, and it's a 12-month course. So anyone that wants to join us, please come on board, because we need the numbers so that we can keep this going. We'll have distance learning right at the center. We were recognized in Miami today in December. One of our businesses is actually going to be bringing something to one of our future meetings, but I want everyone to be aware of it so you can support her. Dr. Stephanie Ward of Balance for Health is bringing an initiative to the town which is going to be called the Children's Challenge. And it's an event that she's going to sponsor, an event September, I think it's the first week in September, where 300 youth are going to have the opportunity to be introduced to healthy eating, following the President's physical fitness guidelines, and it's going to be a lot of things that will help the betterment of our youth's health and getting them active again. So Ms. Ward will be bringing that information to us at another meeting. And lastly, I wanted to share that one of our businesses, which is an 8A certified business, was just granted a $2 million contract for landscape services at the Miami International Airport. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hilda. Some fantastic news. What's going on at the incubator, we appreciate it. Is there a motion for approval of consent agenda?
I'll move them, Mayor.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Porter.
Excuse me, I think there's a Main Street presentation.
No, they canceled. They canceled from what I had. Yeah. Any discussion of the consent agenda? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, Mr. Vice, you want us to bring forth
Please,
that item?
8A, which is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 4 supplemental district regulations, Division 2 off-street parking, Section 3433 off-street parking area requirements in all districts to establish new standards for self-service storage facilities, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any comments on this item? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And when will the second reading be, Madam Clerk?
The reading is scheduled for April 2nd.
Thank you. Back to the quasi-judicial items. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons who speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish either to be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with the Code Section 2591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. At this time, the clerk will swear any persons who wish to testify in any quasi-judicial item.
Please stand and raise your right hand. I state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Item 7A is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Christopher Blunzer for a rezoning from R1 One-Family District to B1A Professional Business Restricted District for property located at 140 Northeast 15th Street, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
Second.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilwoman Bell. Any initial comments from council on this issue? This is the second and final reading. Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience on this issue? So rezoning from R1 to B1A. Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7B is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of George Abiana for a rezoning from R1 One-Family District to B1A Professional Business Restricted District for property located at 70 Northwest 14th Street, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any question from council on this issue? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? This is another rezoning from R1 to B1A. Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7C is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Campbell Storage LLC for a rezoning from Restricted Retail District B1 to Retail Commercial District B2, further approving site plan approval for an approximately 134,075 square foot self-storage facility located on the north side of 312th Street, Campbell Drive, and east of Southwest 162nd Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any comments from council?
Mayor,
Ms. Garner?
just a few questions. Ms. Kamala, maybe you can help me. Can you just describe for me the entrance and exit? Because we have one small picture here, and it's kind of hard for me to... I know it's going to be right off of Campbell Drive.
Yes, they do. They get access right next to racetrack. That's their access to their plat, and they go north and get there, and they're supposed to have north right in and right out, and they have worked all the details with us. They're giving us right of dedication for future widening of Campbell, and we have worked all the details.
So do they have access into the racetrack parking area?
Well, there is no curb right now between the driveway and the racetrack. Racetrack get access through the same driveway, yes.
Okay. I was just a little concerned about the traffic. Not that they'd have a lot of traffic because it's a storage facility, but you know how 8th Street is. And my only other concern was that it's 5 stories. Does that affect properties to the north at all? I mean, I know that there's some housing further north from that. I don't know if it's...
We haven't got any negative feedbacks, and they are under our requirement as far as the height goes. So,
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Any other question?
I'd like to see their presentation. I know they've got some elevations and...
I would too.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Maria Graglia with the law firm of Schutzendorf at 201 South Biscayne Boulevard. I represent Campbell Storage LLC, and they're the applicant tonight. And we are requesting a zone change from B1, restricted retail commercial, to B2, retail commercial district. We're also requesting approval of a site plan for the development of a self-storage facility on the property. Here with me tonight is Clement Sensuri. He's a principal with Campbell Storage, as well as the project's architect, Jiro Yates, who will be walking you through the project shortly. Also with us tonight is our traffic consultant, Greg Kyle from Kimberly Horn. The location of this property is ideal for the development of a self-storage facility. It is, as you all know, it's right behind the racetrack gas station parcel. Access to the property, to answer that question, is through an easement. It's a driveway, and you get to the self-storage facility through this driveway. We are making improvements on this driveway, so there's only going to be a right-hand turn onto Campbell Drive, never a left-hand turn. And these were things that we worked out with your staff. The application was unanimously approved at the Planning and Zoning Board. We have recommendation of approval from staff. We have been going back and forth with this application for some time, I have to say. It's been over a year. I think we're going on 2 years. And I have to tell you, your staff has really done an outstanding job in making sure that we took care of every single detail. And if you think that a self-storage facility in the city of Homestead is easy to develop, I can tell you it is not. They have really taken a good look at this application, and we've made all the changes that they have requested. At this time, I'd like to introduce our architect, which is standing behind me, and he'll just go ahead and walk you through the application, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. My name is Jiro Yates with Falkinger, Snyder, Martineau, and Yates from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I just have a colored site plan here and one of the renderings, and if you'd like, I'll just walk you through kind of the access to the site. You want me to present it here? Is this fine? Fine. Let's see if you can see it. Is this okay here? Can you see it okay? Basically, in this configuration, north is going to be this way. Campbell Drive is located in this direction. And the access that was mentioned is located here at this part of the site. What's kind of interesting about this site is the parcel only fronts approximately this distance along Campbell Drive, and then the property goes in, and the rest of this property in here is not part of the parcel. So the only frontage really is here, so this is the access to the area. Though there is a property line shown here in this hatch area, this is really, if you've seen the site, is really just a single piece of asphalt. There's no line here. So when you come in here, the trucks actually come in to do the gas station, and they make the turn, and they come in this direction. The access to the site continues north. There's unrestricted access to this location, which is the public parking, if somebody wants to come in and try to rent a storage facility or so forth. There's restricted access with gates in this location, so that somebody could come in and load covered in this location here, access the secure lobby with the elevators, and then they can circulate around the site and exit. This is a one-way out only. And then when the people leave, as had been mentioned, there's a stop sign here, there's a right turn lane only, there's a caution pedestrian and so forth, and they would make a right turn out onto Campbell Drive. And this is rendition of what you would be looking at as you enter. This is the car actually coming into the facility, so this is the southeast corner of the project. You have any other questions, I'm here for you.
Mayor.
Beautiful. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes, one of the concerns I had was the height. I believe the application says up to 6 stories. Is that correct?
The project is a 5-story project. The height limitation, I believe, is 70 feet, and we're approximately we're about 67 feet, I think.
Yeah, because, well, maybe a typo in our summary, it talked about that there needs to be a change to some of the legends, that it would not exceed 70 feet or 6 stories. So we've got information that says 6. Be that as it may, I guess my question is what about signage? Obviously, my concern is that as you come south on the turnpike coming into Homestead, you've got the beautiful new $150 million hospital with some very unique and distinctive and beautiful architecture on your left as you're coming south, and on the right-hand side, you're likely to see a self-storage facility of equal height, and you haven't sold me on the height yet, but, as an ancillary concern to that, and I can't tell from here, is there some signage there on the side up at the top of the building that might be blaring out on the turnpike as people come into town?
Well, there's a monument sign, I think, that's located on the site plan. Actually, there's a sign shown in the location here. And the facility, as you know, is back quite a bit from Campbell Drive.
Well, but it's probably more visible as you're on the turnpike coming south. Was my question. Does this contemplate any signage on the building, any signage lighted or otherwise on the side of the building?
It's my understanding, and maybe staff can speak to this, it's my understanding that pylon signs are not allowed, and that we would have to have a monument sign, and that's what we would have, a monument sign.
No, but under some circumstances, signs mounted on the wall of the building would be permitted. I'm talking about affixed to the side of the building, not as a pylon.
Yes, there are some conditions here. However, they still need to submit a signed package to us for our review, which we haven't received it. We are working with the applicant on that. When they submit it, we review and we make sure it complies with all the code and requirement. And
so potentially there could be a lighted sign 70 feet in the air that's in your face when you come over that hill on the turnpike and see the hospital on one side, and you might have this glaring self-storage lighted sign on the other staring you in the face. And for my mind, I don't know if that's what I want to be, the sign that says "Welcome to Homestead."
No, they provide us with a sign package and we review it, and it has to
But if it meets the criteria, it's out of our control. They could submit a permitted lighted sign to be on the side of the building 70 feet up.
We can put that in as a restriction, can't we?
Excuse me.
Well, the package talks about pylon signs aren't permitted, but I don't think that addresses anything affixed to the building.
We do have a really strict requirement on sign, especially around Campbell Drive. We make sure to meet all our requirements, we do have minimum square footage as far as the height, the size, the square footage.
Well, anyway, that was my concern, and certainly from here we couldn't tell on the site plan whether or not there was some proposed signage on the building that way up in the air with that height. I mean, kind of like Washington, D.C., I want the hospital to be the icon for our city on that side, not necessarily any other type of facility. And the water calculates track.
I just wanted to mention, if there is anything outside, our requirement in the code or our standards, we have to bring it to you, and then, you can reject it or move it forward as you like.
That's all for now, Mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Carroll, you want to?
Oh, I was just going to say that it's clear under Section 4 under conditions that all signage is going to need to meet all requirements for size and location requirements, and that signage plan is going to have to be submitted prior to issuing your building permits, and anything that goes beyond that is going to have to come back before us. So we certainly can have the final say, because I think that's a very good observation, but I think certainly we have the final say on that.
Yeah, I really don't think that's true. No, I think the point that was being raised was that if there's a
conforming sign
that complies with our code, you're not going to see it. And what I think that the mayor made the suggestion, if you're concerned about a sign on this building, what you should do is just make it as a condition of this approval that there'll be no building sign, that there's no signage at all other than the pylon sign that's included in the site plan. If that's what your concern is. What?
The monument
sign that's included in this site plan.
I would just like...
So that'd be something they need to proffer.
If I can just make a comment. Whatever sign, we will work with staff to put whatever sign that would not be a sign that would be intrusive or would cause anybody, it wouldn't be an eyesore. We definitely don't want to have this building and a sign that's going to be blaring, and so we will work with staff. As much as that, I would proffer that. Unfortunately, the way that this property is situated, if you don't have a sign, something on this building, it's going to be very difficult for them to even let anybody know there's a self-storage facility. So I think that kind of takes away from them being able to market their property. So by not having a sign and just a monument sign, I think that, taking that away, that could really undermine the marketability of the self-storage facility, because it is really it's way in Campbell Drive. I mean, you're not going to see it. It's not right on the street. Now, as far as the hospital, it's my understanding the hospital is much taller, so I don't think there's going to be such a conflict between the hospital and the self-storage facility. That being said, we do have another facility which is located near Dateland. You can see the type of sign that's on that facility. We're not proposing a huge sign with, multicolored and lights at night. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I might, this is only first reading, so what you could do is, prior to second reading, the applicant could submit their sign package to staff. Staff could fully review it for compliance with our code, for compliance with urban design standards, before it comes back to you for second reading, if you so wish.
I'd like for that to happen.
Any other comments? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? This is first reading. We'll have second reading on April the 2nd. So if you don't have any comments tonight and you want to share it with us on April the 2nd, you can do that. I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is item 7D. It's the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of San Remo Homes, LLC, for a rezoning from agricultural use AU to one-family district R1, and further granting site plan and tentative plat approval for a residential development consisting of 30 single-family units on approximately 6.45 acres, located east of Southwest 162nd Avenue, Farm Life School Road, north of Southwest 320th Street, Maui Drive, and northwest of the Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike. It's legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Is there a motion for first reading? Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Question, Mr. Porter.
I know in the package somewhere it refers to the portion of contribution that the project will do to the 162nd Farm Life Road. I know that particular section of there's sections of that road that are underdeveloped. This would be adjacent to one of those. What is this developer going to contribute to that project?
They are going to contribute for the signal burn study at 162nd and 344, but their impact was so small that we took the number of all the links that they are filling and added to one intersection, and they are going to pay for that signal burn study for that intersection, 162nd and 344.
Farm Life and
344.
Palm Drive, which is nowhere in the vicinity of the actual project.
Is within the radius of the traffic study.
Okay, when are we going to be able to realize some effort on the four-laning of that particular? There's two sections of that roadway that need to be four-laned. Because as all this development continues to go south, it's all beginning to come up that road and hitting onto Campbell Drive. When are we going to see some improvement on the road?
Well, hopefully when the future development comes that impacts 162nd, we can use our proportionate fair share to do that project.
So at this particular point, the best scenario that we would see from this developer is some sort of signage, traffic signalization on Palm Drive, 344.
Yes.
Okay.
The total number of the impact, if I recall, was about maybe 22 trips overall within the 1.5-mile radius, which is pretty small. So we thought doing the traffic signal for that intersection would be sufficient.
There's no doubt that I think that intersection is worthy of some study, but I'm saying in the scheme of things, as all the development goes on right around that particular section of roadway, we need to start shifting some resource or some escalated timeline upon that, because it is an underdeveloped section that's getting a whole lot of extra use because of growth, obviously south in the DRI and some of the new developments that are being approved or have already been approved. So as we go forward, I think that's got to be a priority improvement there. And it's really, I don't know that it's that bad, because there's sections of it that are already 4-lane now. They just need to be connected, except for the bridge. So in the future, I understand the philosophy, but in the future, let's try to get some money or something impact on that road system there. Please.
We sure try.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comment, Mayor? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant? Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes I'm kind of hesitant that, if there's not the respect or the deference for somebody to show up and be available, but thank you for, very good. My thought was, and I've had this question over several years, at what point do rights become vested? And we've talked about, final plat approval years after the first site plan and T-plat approval in many cases recently, where other traffic issues have come into play and types and kinds of housing. And while it's typically not incumbent upon us to make economic and development decisions for private landowners, there comes a point when it comes to quality of life. And from my own personal observations and from reports I've gotten from city officials and members of the police department, we have blocks and blocks and blocks of finished yet unoccupied new residential dwellings in this community, and those that are being filled by those who aren't necessarily the best of neighbors and typically have become rental rather than pride in ownership. And we're at the point here with this application where once this moves forward, those rights become vested, and it may be another year or two, and there may be different traffic issues, or may be different market issues out there. And I'm thinking to myself, this one as opposed to the next two that are up for final plat approval months, if not years after initial approval, I think it's time to say no. Let's let the market catch up. Let's see what kind of community this is going to build out to be. From my perspective, I think we just need to stop and take a breath and not allow something to be built that maybe the market is not really ready for, or could evolve into something very quickly that's not in the best interest of the community. Now, as for the density, it's wonderful. It's less than 6. It's less than 5. I think it's less than 5, and it's detached single family. But we have some of those very kinds of products and projects that are sitting empty, and I don't think that really bodes well for our community. So tonight, for myself, and I have a pretty good idea I'm not going to prevail. I'm going to draw the line in the sand and just say no upon the reasons that I've enunciated. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah.
Ms. Bell?
Thank you. While I certainly agree with Mr. Losner on what he said as far as what's happening in the community, I don't think that this is the project to pick on. We have the future land use designation of low-density residential, and this is exactly what this is. This is what we look for in a project. This is what I've been sitting here complaining about high density and high density, and when we get something that's way under what they could bring to the table, we have low density, we have a unanimous recommendation, but I really understand, but I think that this isn't the project to start saying no on. I think the project to start saying no on is the one that's 9 and 10 units to the acre, not the one that's 4. So I really would find us hard-pressed to say no on something that we've been asking for. They're not townhouses or single-family homes. They're not high density. They're very, very low density, especially when it complies with the future land use. So while we're usually almost always in agreement, I would have to say that this is certainly not the project that I would want to start making an example out of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Any other comments from council? If not, this is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Got to start somewhere, no.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7E is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting final plat approval for Cali Greens located on the southwest corner of Palm Drive, southeast 24th Street, and southwest 344th Street, and southwest 162nd Avenue, Fairways Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A, an approximately 22.51 acre site consisting of 146 townhouse units, and providing for an effective date.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Porter. Any initial comments from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Mr. Powell?
Good evening, Ed Powell, 2274 Southeast 27th Drive, and also a proud member of Planning and Zoning Board. I was just mentioning, if you drive by both this site and the one that you're going to see in the next item, you'll see that that site is partially built or under construction. So we have 3 or 4 or 5 of those units that are pretty well underway, and here we are looking at final T-plat. If Mr. Losner would prevail, you wouldn't approve them, and they'd be somewhere in between nowhere. So it's kind of interesting how these things take off, and now we're still looking at them, and they're 40% built already. Thank you.
Just so there's a big distinction between the last one and this one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. If there's no further public comments, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7F is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting final plat approval for Santa Barbara, located south of Southwest 320th Street, Maury Drive, on the east side of Northeast 18th Avenue, Farm Life School Road, and Southwest 162nd Avenue, and west of 157th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for, in Exhibit A, in an approximately 20.77 acre site consisting of 183 townhouse units, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7G is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting final plat approval for Ventanas del Sol, located on the southwest corner of Southwest 320th Street, Maury Drive, and Southwest 157th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, an approximately 31-acre site consisting of 117 single-family units, and providing for an effective date.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Porter.
One question.
Question, Mr. Porter.
Let's ask a question of the attorney. If we denied this final approval, where would the city be? What would we have to do?
If you denied this final plat approval?
If we denied this, where would we go from here?
If you denied it, then they would not be able to go to final plat approval for the county and probably serve with a lawsuit, because they've already been vested in regards to initially a PUD, which was given development rights under a master plan, and a subsequent tentative plat and site plan approval before final plat approval. So we would be stuck defending a lawsuit more than likely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hahn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are under legislative matters. First public hearing for the CDBG application, tab 22. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'll take that. It's a request for approval to allow Fred Cox Associates, which we have chosen as our CDBG consultants, to prepare draft applications. We have several that we can choose from in terms of, we have revitalization, community revitalization, we have economic development opportunity, as well as housing rehab. And our Community Advisory Task Force had met and had suggested that we do the first and community revitalization grant of $750,000 would be for the Seminole Theater. The match requirement's $250,000. Other eligible, however, is economic development and housing rehab.
Offered by Mr. Hard. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
I see Frank is in the audience. Frank, how far away are we from getting the dollars we need to complete the Seminole Theater restoration? We are fortunate to get this grant.
Absolutely. This grant would be very important for us in terms of building out the interior. The majority of the funding will be necessary to actually build out the theater. As I explained in my report last month, the $500,000 from Metro-Dade County is going to be used to finish the exterior of the building. If I completely remove the construction of the south building, which is about $800,000, and remove the $500,000 for the exterior, there's about $3.5 million left in the interior build-out and heavy equipment to service the main stage facility. Given the city's contribution, which will capitalize into a construction loan, at the amount of about $1 million, and with this grant, another grant that I'm writing, we're very, very close. I would say we're about $1 million to $1.5 million away. So this is a very doable exercise at this point. I know that Judy Waldman was in Washington this last week, and we spoke on several occasions about pursuing historic preservation dollars and a national designation for the theater. So we're working on this from about 3 or 4 different quarters, and I'm beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Questions? And I guess to the manager, to Mr. Stouts. Let's take a step back. It's been nearly 2 years, Mayor, since in your State of the City address you put out the proposal to allocate a certain number of dollars over a period of years toward the completion of the Seminole Theater. And that was predicated on a revision or entering into a new operating agreement, as well as some marketing and business plan studies and so forth. And I know back in September when we approved the CRA budget, I asked the question, and it had an additional item for a couple $100,000 for the Seminole Theater in the CRA budget. And I asked the question then, and I believe when I looked at the minutes, it indicated that that operating agreement had not yet been entered into by the Seminole Theater Group. Has that agreement, in fact, been executed?
No. Mr.
make and explain where we are in the process of securing that business plan and market study. I think we're going to have them fairly shortly.
No, but I asked about the operating agreement first. It was going to require the marketing plan and the business study. I mean, we're talking, this is almost 2 years now.
I thought we wanted the market plan and the business study before we entered into the
So where are we?
Like, we have not done an agreement.
The marketing plan and business plans, the RFP for them will be advertised in the League of American Historic Theaters newsletter on March 28th. The documentation for the RFP is on the Seminole Theater's website, and I'm already receiving some interest in applicants for the project. I expect that the completed feasibility study, the marketing plan, and the business plan will be finished, I would say, August 1st or the mid of August of this year.
So, just so I've got my numbers right, the mayor proposed, and help me, Kurt, what's the number that was proposed for that annual? Was it 150, 170 a year over 10 years?
It was 1.7 million over 17 years.
Okay, so
we're spending roughly 100,000 this year in costs to get to that point. No money has been given from that money for construction for the theater, sir.
Well, let's assume at some point in the future everything falls into place, and it does. In 2008, then, we're pledging that 100 or 170, whatever it is, plus the 200 out of a future CRA budget, and then another 50 in 2009, in addition to that 17-year pledge.
Yes, the 250,000 would be grant match.
Well, and then, beyond that, what jumped out at me is that we're at real risk over the next 45 days or so as to what the legislature is going to do for tax reform. And of course, there's literally a million details that haven't been worked out yet. And it occurred to me that CRA funding, TIF funding, could be a real issue. And while I understand the time now is to apply for the grant, there's going to come a time in the future where we're going to be called upon to accept the award of a grant, potentially. And I would hope that at that point, and I'm going to be asking at that point, what is the effect of real property tax reform going to have on the ability of the city to continue to fund that 170 a year, and the CRA to fund 250 out of its budget, which from TIF funds, which may or may not be there with drastic tax reform. We're going to have to address that before we accept this grant. Now, understand, all we're doing is authorizing it to go forward. But that's something I want to be looking at in the future.
And right now, the county has no idea what's going to happen with CRAs. I mean, we tried to get anybody if they've heard anything, and they had thought about it, but I don't think that's been fleshed out.
Well, even more basic, we don't know how the sales tax is going to be allocated among the various counties. I mean, certainly we produce a huge share of it and may not get that pro rata back. So that was my concern. Let me ask you, there was either neighborhood revitalization, commercial revitalization, or housing rehabilitation. What would be the alternatives under neighborhood revitalization?
Typically, that's used for sewer lines, streets, sidewalks, those kinds of surface or subsurface infrastructure. Drainage on occasion, but that's much more difficult to prove because you have to do it in a small service area where you document the benefits of low and moderate income persons, and drainage many times serves folks far beyond the immediate vicinity of a drainage facility like those on the street are basically the ones who are served there.
Yeah, because I guess the sad reality is that $750,000 doesn't go very far when you start talking about water, sewer, or drainage.
No. Also, Mr. Losner, we would not be offered a grant until probably sometime in December.
So we would well know what the effect, and we may be very well faced with the position of declining based upon economic availability.
Us and many other CDBG applicants who would have also pledged leverage should we be competitive and win the day.
Those are just questions we're going to have to ask on many, many, many projects from here on out until we have a handle on this. Look,
we all know I've been really leery for a long, long time, and even predating my time on this side of the table, about whether or not the city ought to be dumping that much money into the Seminole Theater at that location. Now, clearly, the majority of council for many years has thought that we should, but we need to recognize that the city's pledged a long-term subsidy for, I guess, operating utilities and a whole host of issues that are going to start coming to pass if and when the building is completed. I thought the idea of the Seminole Theater Group was that they were going to go out and do their own grant writing and not really rely upon the city, on the strength of the city and the CRA to help obtain more grants to get that going. Has that changed?
Commissioner Lasner, if I could address that. I submitted a grant to the county last week. I typically write between 3 and 4 grants myself personally and submit them to funding agencies on an annual basis. This is really kind of a joint effort at this point between the CRA and the Seminole Theater Group. I'm in the process right now of writing a large grant to the state of Florida, Historic Preservation, and again, I just turned in a small grant for ADA compliance, the access to the main entrance of the theater off Chrome Avenue last week. So I am writing grants right along, and this is in combination with the CRA and Mr. Stotts.
Maybe I just think back that grants have been written and fundraising efforts have been going since Mr. Shiver was mayor 10 years ago. And there's going to come a time when a different council with a different majority philosophy is going to say is enough's enough. And I look forward to that day. Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Mr. Hodge?
Thank you, Mayor.
I'll answer some of your questions in a very brief way. That's why we need to set aside several millions of dollars for our CRA out of the Park of Commerce that we just approved of.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think when you think about
there's the agenda, folks.
When you think about the Seminole Theater, the bottom line is we all must remember that facility belongs to the people of Homestead. And either you seek external resources to help restore it, you sell it, or the people will have the burden of restoring it with tax dollars. So I think the approach is a perfect approach. We seek external funding sources to help restore the Seminole Theater. It will be a major quality of life issue for the people of Homestead. It's a historic site. We got a lot of history, and we need to restore it. And if it takes 20 years, we need to work 20 years to restore it. It's a valuable asset to the people of Homestead. Now, mind you again that Mr. Frank May and that whole group get paid how much a year?
Zero, sir. We're volunteers.
Do we pay you to do what you're doing?
Well, there's a management fee to the theater of $40,000 per year.
But I'm talking to you and the others that are writing grants and trying to restore it on behalf of the people of the city of Homestead, get absolutely not 1 cent to do it.
That's correct, sir. It's a completely volunteer effort.
So it's a major asset. We're on the right track. Let's restore the Seminole Theater.
Amen, sir.
Mr. Mayor, just one other item. On this particular grant, the Seminole Theater cannot go for this grant by itself. It has to have a government. So they can't go for this by themselves. Just to know.
Quick, let's assume that the Seminole Theater grant's not awarded in the neighborhood or the housing rehab is. What's that going to entail?
Well, I think that...
or is that even possible with the scenario of picking the preferences?
There's 2 of them that are either or, mutually exclusive.
You can apply for a commercial revitalization grant or a housing grant. You can't get both. You have to pick at the time you apply which you want, should you be fundable in both. Okay, all right, so it's not one or they're going to award either the first one or both, and you default back to the both. You're not going to be awarded the second because of the designation, correct?
It's either or, isn't it?
You can apply for 2. Is there any scenario where the housing grant would be forthcoming and not the other? If we didn't score out in the commercial grant and scored out in the housing grant. Yeah, that was my question. So what's that going to be programmed toward? Housing rehabilitation, that's the big use of that pot of money. We would go through some sort of selection process and select homes for families who are low and moderate income, and 30% of the funds have to be used for families who are very low income. Our policies have always been to work with homeowners rather than landlords or renters, and the funds would be used to rehabilitate those homes. In worst case, you actually tear down a home and replace it if it's in such bad shape that it can't be repaired. We hope to not run into that because you can't do a whole lot of that with $750,000 anymore. Well, and certainly based on our holiday home makeover experience, you're looking at 8 or 10 houses max with $750,000. I think 10 is the number that we're going to be applying for. We maximize our score at that number, so we're not going to promise more than that and have less to spend on each particular house. We've also got to take into account that we've got to set some money aside for some temporary relocation expenses, because some houses you're not going to be able to rehabilitate with the family in residence. You're going to have to move them out temporarily while you repair the home. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Any other comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Rosner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we have public comments. Any comments from the public? Public comments at this time. Give us your name and address for the record.
Clara Waterman Powell, 2274 Southeast 27th Drive. This is not a prepared speech, so bear with me. But I want to thank the council very much for approving the extended stay hotel. A few years ago, when my home was in Kendall, it was about 2 miles away from Baptist in Kendall. And I had the sad occasion of housing fathers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, children, while their family member was at the hospital for 6 weeks. And although I was only 2 miles away, the 2 miles at some point did not allow them to share time with their relative. So I'm very happy that you now have a facility close to the hospital so families can be close to their loved ones in the hospital. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, ladies of the council, and gentlemen, I'm here tonight to talk about a man that I'm sure none of you know, and no one in the audience knew him either. He died about 2 months ago in Charleston, South Carolina, but he was born and raised in Homestead 84 years ago. When Pearl Harbor was bombed in 1941, this man was 17 years old. He went down to the recruiting station. They let him in the Army. After his basic training, he was shipped to the Philippine Islands. Well, when the Japanese overtook the Philippine Islands, he was one of the prisoners they took. He was on the Bataan Death March. He survived the Bataan Death March. Any of you know anything about it? They marched these men to the nearest shipping station. They loaded them on a ship, or many ships. They carried them to Japan and used them as slave labor. This man made that trip. Many died. If they couldn't walk, they bayoneted him or shot him. He made the trip. They carried him to the Philippine Islands. He served as a slave labor there until the United States bombed Japan and took that concentration camp they had and released him. He came home. He's got many medals. You have them. Ms. Campbell gave you a copy of everything I have about him. I wanted him to be here, but he passed away about 2 2 months ago. His family, his father came to Homestead in 1916. His name was Philip Biondo. Philip Biondo was married to a Sinclair lady. They established homes on Northeast 1st Avenue, the same street that runs in front of the News Leader. And when I was growing up, we knew this as Little Italy. Biondo family was there, the Sinclair family was there, the Bolero family was there, the Mastretta family was there. Mastretta family have died out. There's one Bolero lady living in Homestead today. She's married to a Smith. She's about 90 years old, great lady. Steve Biondo was Louis Biondo's brother. He lives on Biscayne Drive. Another brother, Dominic, was the youngest brother of the group. There was 5 of them. 5 of these brothers from the Biondo family served in the military. Louis was in the Army. His brother in Italy that I saw with a lefty served in the Army. And another son named Sam, who I went to school with, served in the Army. Steve and Dominic joined the Marines. They had one sister, but here's a family that came to Homestead in 1916. All these boys and this girl were born in Homestead. I would like to see the city, the mayor and the council, name Northeast 1st Avenue after Louis Biondo. Louis Biondo Avenue. It won't cost much for the signs. Whatever they cost, you don't have the money, I'll pay for them. Send me a bill and I'll pay you for it. Or get the money in advance, I'll write you a check for it. But I think we need to pay this man some tribute. He was a hero, an unheard of hero. And I'd like you to take into consideration, he may not want to act on it tonight, but he has family living here in Homestead now, and they were all, Steve got out of school, he quit school in 42, joined the Marines with about 5 other boys from Homestead, and some of them didn't come back. But I'd like to see you pay tribute to these people, and it's not only a tribute to him, it's a tribute to his family, the Biondo family, the Sinclair family, the Bolero family, the Mastretta family. There's 2 Mastretta kids that live in Redland right now. But their mother and father, their grandfather, grandmother, and brothers, they're all gone. But I'd like to see you pay tribute to this man and his family and the other Italian people. It was only about 5 Italian people that lived in Homestead then. They lived in Little Italy, and I lived a block away from them. They'd cook, and they'd bring my mother bread. My mother would cook turnip greens and collards and give it to them, or chicken and dumplings, and they loved that. And I'd appreciate it if you'd pay this man tribute. It won't cost you anything. I'll pay for the signs. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rhodes, we have built a process for naming streets after individuals, and we'll get this information over to our Human Relations Board. Oh, I'm sorry. We have put in place a process for naming streets to our Human Relations Board, and Marlene and we'll take the information, and Lauren will take the information and expedite. Mark, she has one already, and we'll make sure we get that expedited and taken care of. Yes, sir.
That's good.
We take care of it.
Man, I want to pay tribute too.
Yes, sir.
He died about a year ago. You know him. He helped everyone to get elected.
Yes, sir. We took care of that already.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. We'll take care of it. But as a committee, we'll look at it and bring it back to us for approval. So we'll do it. All right, public comments. Any more public comments? If not, we go on to business from the city manager. Mr. Manager?
I have a couple of things, Mayor. One is, many may have seen this, but just a reminder, and this will be on our website as we speak, but we're in phase 1 water restrictions. And what that really means is Phase 1 restrictions allow lawn watering and car washing 3 days a week, and as follows. Any addresses ending in odd numbers must do this on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. I want to see you out there washing your car from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., but that's the rule. And the even number addresses Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And these restrictions apply to all users, including agriculture, industrial, commercial, golf course, landscaping, and residential water users who get their water from public utilities or private wells, even if you have your own well. So I wanted to mention that it is on our website under kind of new developments. We know this weekend coming up, 23-24, is a race weekend. I won't say any more if somebody else is going to say something about it, but just keep in mind that we are having a very nice event on the 23rd and 24th of March. And again, the newsletter will be publishing a schedule on that, so look for that. Real shortly here, Biscayne Everglades Greenway workshops to take place on March 22nd and 24th. And they will be from 6 to 7:30 at Miami-Dade College. I don't have a room for that, but this information is also available on the city website. And they'll have two sessions. They have the 22nd and then on March 24th, same location, the college.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman Bell?
Thank you, Mayor. This morning, the Mayor and Vice Mayor Losner and I were very pleased to attend Homestead Middle School for the Japanese Fulbright Award. And Homestead Middle School is only one of 2 schools in the entire Southeast region and only one of 9 schools in the entire United States that won this distinct honor. And one of 10 schools in the entire United States to win this prestigious and highly competitive. It's a Japanese Fulbright Memorial Fund Master's Teacher Program. And right now, Homestead Middle School is hosting 2 Japanese teachers, and then one of our teachers from Homestead is going to be going to Japan and working with them. It's a really exciting Master Teacher Program. It's an exchange program in which participating U.S. and Japanese schools are partnered to develop joint science projects using information technology. So we're very, very excited, and it's really quite an honor for Homestead Middle School to be chosen. As a matter of fact, it's quite an honor to be the only school chosen in Florida and the only one of 2 in the entire southeastern region of the United States. So it's a real honor. We were very pleased to attend and present proclamations on behalf of you and behalf of the City of Homestead. The Red Cross Ball was absolutely lovely. Everybody involved did a very, very good job. Lauren, that would be you. And I just wanted to compliment the Red Cross, the committee. Congratulations on a very, very lovely event. Also, I attended, as I stated earlier, the Gang Awareness Conference at Southridge Senior High School, and boy, it was extremely informative. And unfortunately, a lot of the examples that were used as far as gang symbols and gang colors and the way they do the tattoos, and it can be almost the identical tattoo to a rival gang, except for one symbol might be up and the other one might be facing down, and there were so many things. And a lot of the examples that they used were from Homestead, and it was quite alarming. But it certainly is and of course we had our Homestead officers attend, and it was really, really very eye-opening for me, and to kind of train you how to be aware. And it was really for the teachers, and training the teachers how to spot somebody who's going to be sitting in their classroom, whether they're doodling on their notebooks or whether they wear a little symbol, maybe write it on their hands or something for teachers to pay attention to the signs on the students so that they can intervene very, very quickly while they're very young. So I was very impressed by the program, and very impressed with our Homestead police officers who presented a fantastic program. I met last week with the Excelsior Academy, and Excelsior Academy is coming to Homestead, and they're going to be putting a language charter school in Homestead, and we're very excited about it. I'm going to be inviting them to present to the Education Committee. So we're going to be having actually they're going to start with Spanish. We're going to be having a Spanish language academy in Homestead, starting with elementary school and eventually, hopefully, going all the way through high school. And they're going to start, I recommended, as they retrofit the building that they're purchasing right now, I recommended starting small with maybe a few grades and then phasing in a grade every single year so that they can start quickly so that we can get this off the ground and eventually incorporate all of the grades as well. I was very, very pleased about that. Also, a contingency of us from council went to Washington, D.C., and we discussed with our legislators our legislative agenda, some of our key issues. We talked about funding. We talked about Southcom and Homestead. There were quite a few issues that we talked about. So I think it was very fruitful. It was very good face-to-face time with Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. We spoke with other Senate staffers. We spoke with Senator Warner staffers, Senator Levin staffers. And I will tell you, as one that was tasked with dealing with Southcom and bringing Southcom to Homestead, it really does not look good. I always like to just put it right out there. It's not looking good, as Doral seems to be the desired location for the admiral that's in charge of making the decision. While of course it goes back to the staffers, and we did employ the staffers, if you will, to reconsider that. And as I took a look at all of the literature and everything that was sent to the staffers, that they were what they based their decision upon, I noticed a lot of great omissions, if you will. It wasn't that things were distorted. It was that many things were not included, such as a over 100,000 square foot BX facility that's already in place, such as a multi-million-dollar gymnasium that's already in place, such as housing that is much more affordable for the enlisted servicemen in Homestead as compared to Doral and the Doral area, and just what's happening in Homestead and the growth and the location. I mean, we're only 18 miles difference, quite frankly. So we really implored them. So everybody, all we can do is just continue to try and continue to persist. They did mention the Habdy lawsuit that was resurrected, and we are researching that. Mr. Manager, you said we're researching that?
We're waiting on a call to see if they accept a meeting with us to talk about that, the Habdy representatives.
Because I thought that was very coincidental that just as they were starting to come down here and take a tour of our area, that suddenly the Habdy lawsuit was mysteriously resurrected. So I think that's something that's very valid to look into. And it could have been a wrench that was thrown in to kind of keep the focus off of the Homestead site. I don't know. It's out there, and it was mentioned, and it is out there. As long as it's out there, it does kind of throw a wrench in the whole plan. So we are working on that, and there were many other issues that were discussed. I know maybe Mr. Losner would like to discuss some of the other issues, but it was a very, very good, fruitful lobbying time that we all had. Mr. Hodge went, the mayor, and Steve and I went. I thought it was very, very productive. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Yep. I just wanted to mention that the mayor had asked me to look into the Habdy lawsuit.
Right.
I have an appointment actually to go down to the county tomorrow to speak with the county attorney as to the status of that.
So you'll keep us posted?
I will.
Thank you.
Let me ask Richard, what Linda mentioned the trip to Washington. I don't know whether you read the article in the Herald the other day about potential sunshine violation when we go to Washington and we meet, and it was, after all these years of service, and it really wasn't an answer to it, to be honest with you, and I was shocked that it wasn't a definitive answer to say that we're not in violation of the sunshine law. We go to Washington, any place to meet with our elected officials there. So
I think that what we've always done is when something could come up in front of the council, I mean, you guys don't discuss that at these.
No.
What the sunshine law says is that you can discuss things that are not going to come before the council with anybody you want. You can discuss those kind of things. And I think that what we've tried to be very careful about, and I know that we're careful even when we meet privately or anything, that the council does not discuss things that could come up before the council. And that's where the line in the law is. Okay. And so that you can have conversations with, let's say, a congressman about a grant or something, or trying to lobby for legislation, because that matter is not going to come up before this council. And I know that we've all talked about it before these trips and been very careful about the fact that and I know that you're all very conscious of that, which is why we feel comfortable doing that. But that's the bright line, which is if it's an issue that's going to come before the council, you can't talk about it. It's not a matter, and I think we followed the same thing. There was an issue similar in Cooper City, where people were having meals together and so forth. But I know that I monitor, when I'm sitting there, we monitor very carefully, and I know that all of you have mentioned to me on several occasions, as we sit there, we can't talk about that, right? And I said, that's right. So I know that you're very conscious of it. And I feel pretty comfortable that we're complying with the Sunshine Law. I think that...
But this Southcom issue may come before the council. That's my concern.
Right. The issue of Southcom, the issue of whether Southcom comes here is not going to come in front of the council. What's could come is...
It's not our decision.
It's not going to be your decision. But I think the answer is that if there's any concern that you have at all about that, then these meetings should be individual meetings with the people that we're lobbying. And I don't know how that the issue of Southcom could come before the council. I don't know. But if there's any concern about it, then we should avoid talking about it privately, and the discussion should happen here.
Well, I think a distinction might be, Richard, is that if Southcom were inclined to come here, that if the council were going to put together a city incentive package, that, for example, could be the trigger that would preclude it.
Right.
Is putting together those kind of packages to entice them to come here, rather than just the general look at us. That's the common sense.
I guess anything that we said had nothing to do with anything that could ever come before council.
And I think that we've been very careful here over the years in trying, even when you go to Tallahassee for days and those kind of things, to keep the conversations among yourselves social in nature. It's a nice day, this is good paella, whatever they're doing. And the conversation, and in terms of substantive things that could come in front of the council, been very careful about those things, and I know that that you are careful. But it's troubling because it's difficult when you're talking about these things to sort of draw the line,
even with because I'm very concerned about this, but even with some of the grant requests we have in Washington, if the funds come, we have to approve that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I mean, the most conservative thing to do is to lobby one-on-one kind of thing, as opposed to several of you meeting with a particular legislator. That's difficult, but that's the most conservative thing to do. But
that can't be done.
The way to do it is to have one of you, let's say if somebody's going to meet with Mario Diaz-Balart, one person meets with Mario Diaz-Balart. That's the way to do it. The group meetings, or the other thing to do, which is...
what we usually do is one person's assigned and only one person speaks. The other people don't even comment. So it kind of takes care of itself, because if Mr. Lazar's assigned to the COPS program and I'm assigned to the Southcom issue and Norman's assigned to a different issue, we're only dealing with one issue. And nobody else is speaking up.
I think that in light of what you're talking about, why don't maybe we come up with a set of criteria. I know that you're all very concerned about making sure that you're not only complying with the law, but that it appears to be correct as well. So why don't we come up with a series of, our office has been criticized about being too conservative about this. We actually got, and so the article some of our clients are looking at us and saying, oh yeah, you're right about this, but we have been very conservative about it. Why don't I come up with a set of criteria that might help you when you're lobbying, so that we have them in place and that you can discuss them and understand them.
Good, thank you.
I'll do that.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Appreciate it. Ms. Garner?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to congratulate the members of the Red Cross Ball Committee. They did a fabulous job, especially the co-chairs, Cindy Kendall and Michelle Moss. I don't hear a lot of publicity for them, but I know they work their butts off and they put their hearts into it. And so does everyone on the committee, but these two ladies they just shine, and we should do something for them in the whole committee, because the event gets better every year. I'd like to say get well soon. Our mentor, Jason Culler, is in the hospital. He has a collapsed lung, and he seems like he's stabilized, but my heart goes out to him, and everyone from the Mayor's Youth Council was saying, get well soon, Jason, so we hope to see you. Unfortunately, he won't be able to go with us on our trip because he's not well enough, and we don't think he'll be okay by then, but we'll be thinking of him, and Mayor, when we're gone for the April 2nd meeting, we'll be thinking of you guys too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Garner. Councilman Hodge?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address a couple of quick things. Number one thing was the brochure for the utility billing. I just wanted to get an update on that. And also, I'll just go ahead and get them all out at one time. Go ahead.
Our Public Information Officer, Lillian, is working along with our PR firm, and we will get you a timeline tomorrow just when that will be ready for your review.
Okay. I know, because I spoke with her about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and she said about a couple of weeks, so that's why I'm just following up on that. And also, I'm almost sure that the council have gotten a letter from our previous utilities director, Greg Paulson. I briefly spoke with Mike Shahada about it, and he did share with me that that the city manager's office will be putting together a response. And basically, what I was going to request city manager and Mike to, when that response is prepared, to schedule a utility meeting so we can update the council on what's going on with that issue. And also, I would like for a copy of, there was a study that was done, the feasibility, I guess it was a feasibility study, but the study on making the facility more efficient.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I don't know, I'm going to choose my words very carefully here, but I can assure you that study, like we discussed here in the city manager's office, did not go beyond the table of contents. I saw his memo to you, and unfortunately misrepresented the facts. We'll be happy to sit down with you and explain to you all the facts as we see it here in the city manager's office. Mr. Paulson was given plenty of opportunity to do a good job. He was counseled by the city manager, was counseled by me several times. Work solo.
I really, I know that you'd like to explain this to the council, but I really
just have the one-on-one with Mr. Hodge.
Yeah, if council members have a question, I really don't think that this is correct. You know, we received sort of a challenging letter from him, and I don't really think we should really be discussing it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Hodge.
Thank you. And it wasn't his study; it was the one that was done by Burns and McDonald. So I would like for the council to be distributed with that information. And basically that's all I have at this time. Just thank you. I didn't want to get into it. I didn't want to go that far. All right. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Well, Councilwoman Bell and Garner have already covered all the fun stuff that I had on my list, so we'll go right to the other. Just want to announce for council and the audience that at our next committee of the whole meeting, we're going to have a presentation from the architects on some tweaking that has been done to primarily the parking plan and enhancement for the new city hall. And from that point, I think we're going to go into some serious drawing and design issues, and any comments or concern that any of you may have really need to be addressed and brought forward at that point. I know there's some members out in the community that legitimately identified some concerns about the location, configuration, and number of parking spaces, and that has been addressed, and I want to bring that forward. That will be at the next committee of the whole meeting. I'm pleased to announce that I've had the opportunity to review the first comprehensive draft of the Northwest Master Plan, and I hope that after some few revisions that we'll have a chance to sit down at a workshop and begin to review that. And I know that in order to implement and work through that plan, we'll be reaching out not only to the utility committee but to the code committee as well to
put those puzzle pieces in place and the beautification committee as well to put together that Northwest Master Plan. Kurt, if I might, I want to talk about some things I'd like to have us have some discussion on future committee of the whole meetings. First would be a discussion on old utility bills. I mean, I'm seeing in the context of real estate closing where title companies are requiring owners 7, 8, 10 years after the fact who were not the owner or even the next owner of both residential and commercial properties in Homestead to pay several hundred, and I saw one recently where there was a claim for several $1,000s in unpaid utility bills going back to the year 2000, and I'd like us all to get a handle on what the state of the law is now and the ins and outs and fundamental fairness and reconciling if that's some unexpected income versus what's fair and right for a current owner to be surprised, if you will, by the discovery of these old bills. That at some point, kind of like the county and open Andrew permits, there's got to be a point when the sun has set on those issues. Also, and I was wondering on the way over here tonight how long it would take to rear its ugly head. It was a lot faster than I thought, so let's go ahead and put it on the table. Let's talk about how we're going to allocate those dollars, or are we going to earmark those dollars from the Park of Commerce sale. I know that we've had discussion about that we've been restoring the dollars that were taken from the utility enterprise account to fund part of the initial construction of the Speedway, and that's been partially refunded, and I know that we've had discussions about refunding another approximately $4.5 million from the Park of Commerce to the utility plant, and I think it's time maybe to, certainly in light of what's on the horizon tax-wise, to police ourselves and be real up front and make some sound business decisions about moving a capital asset from one source to another, and not one shot or just capital to capital. I know at some point in the future we're also going to have some allocation on potential uses and requirements, at least in part for the bowling alley proceeds, and that goes forward. And I know when Richard's ready to let us know that that's resolved and we can go back to auction, that will happen. But also, Kurt, I know that you and Mr. Porter have spent quite a bit of time last year and this year on the issue of the sales tax rebate for whatever the uses may be with respect to the motorsports complex. And as the session gets further along and this bill becomes more gelled, I'd like to have the opportunity for all of us to know what you've been up there working for and how it may impact us and what the uses or non-permitted uses may be and how that plays financially. And again, everything that I'm asking about is really colored by the absolute assurance or gut feeling that something's going to happen tax-wise. There's going to be a fundamental overhaul, and we really got to think about, do we really want to be in Tallahassee spending our political capital this year asking for a sales tax rebate when the whole overhaul was on the table? And, maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't, but I'd really like to know really the meat and potatoes of that. And certainly this forum here tonight is not the time to begin to discuss that. There are a lot of other people that need to be at the table, but sometime in the next couple of committee of the whole meetings, I'd really like to have that discussion as well, and also as the tax bills, become more firm and work their way through the houses of state government, if we could maybe have some report on that. So, having said that, and all the fun stuff having already been covered, that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mayor. I will go back to the traffic cuts on Kingman. The developer did the traffic cuts across Kingman, and we had this discussion in previous council meetings. Where are we on that? That's a temporary cut that's been permanent. So,
within the next 2 weeks, that will be taken care of.
Wasn't that what you told me last time?
No, last time, no. We said within a month, so we're getting to... We basically gave him 3 weeks from last time to do it, so within the next 2 weeks, so we'll be done.
Okay, well, I know there was a temporary cut on an installation on Lucy and north on Farm Life, and that temporary cut's been fixed, and they did a wonderful job. I don't know who did it, but they should be commended, because that was a temporary cut that was fixed in a temporary time frame, not a permanent time frame. So that should be the model that we use as opposed to some of the models that we see. So I'll keep asking, keep pressuring, please.
Also, to add to that, we're looking into actually doing the whole intersection in Kingman and Maury, so that's something that will be started at the same time. Basically, they're going to do the whole thing together.
Perfect, thank you. One of the issues, Mr. Manager, that I think we're going to, as we have so many construction projects going on in so many different areas of the city, one of the things that we need to try to figure out a mechanism is how to forewarn people when there's going to be detours or delays. And I know we have some availability for the flashing signs. Maybe that's an option if someone could come up with something, because there's going to be a lot of different projects going on, and they're going to be very impactful projects in the short term. Long term, they're going to be very, very good projects. But I think the community it would be nice to be able to forewarn the community that this road is going to be closed between this date and this date, or from this hour to this hour, just so you don't end up having to do a whole bunch of backtracking. And whatever that mechanism is, I'd like for us to discuss that at a future meeting where we can talk about some options. Because I don't think, I don't believe it's just an internet kind of a thing. I don't believe you can ask people to go to the website. I don't think you can actually have all that information ready for the news leader or the Miami Herald. It's really got to be something a little bit further that we do to reach out for those as we get into these really, really major projects. So can we talk about that and come up with some ideas? The other issue that I've asked about a couple times before, this maybe goes to the attorney, we have a problem with parking in the swale, and we also have a problem with putting no parking signs in the swale. I don't know which is worse, the cars parking in the swale or the signs being put all over town in the swale just to have the cars parked between the signs. So I know we need to discuss this from the dais. There are pros and there's cons to doing this, and I'd like to see because I know the police department do not have a mechanism to write a ticket for parking in a swale unless there's a no parking sign there. If there were a city code that did not allow cars to park in swale areas, then it could be a code enforcement violation, not necessarily a police department violation. So can we find out if there's any other communities that have similar problems? Because I don't know which is worse. I think the signs are more offensive than any possibility of a car parking in the swale. And I know it's kind of like what we talked about with the storm shutters and the take up and the put down. It's not that, there is no tool to regulate parking in the swale. And I just think that I'd like for us to debate the pros and the cons from the council dais and see who else may or may not be doing it, and if there's a better model out there or a worse model out there that we could decide whether we want to do that or not do that. The last issue I know that we've talked about in a couple of meetings before when we had DOT come down and do a presentation in a committee meeting about the potential alternate route and also the potential for parking to be all on the east side of Chrome Avenue. When they do the improvements, the original plan was they were going to do a bicycle path all the way through Homestead on the east side of Chrome Avenue, which they were going to take all the available street parking off of the east side of Homestead. And we were under the impression for the longest amount of time that was not going to happen, and the alternate route was still on course. DOT gave us a presentation, and none of those things are where they should be. They really have not followed any of the recommendations, resolutions, or any of the requests from the city council. Last week, Sherry Kamali and I had an opportunity to sit with Commissioner Sorensen and request, obviously the governing body that can make the biggest change is obviously the MPO. Anything that gets changed by the MPO. And Commissioner Sorensen has graciously agreed to put the city in front of the MPO. We're not on the agenda, but the commissioner can put us on the agenda to discuss basically moving the alternate route back into a faster time frame. We're looking to recover at least 4 years, and that's the first goal, to recover that 4 years and hopefully better. And also to get the bicycle paths taken away from Homestead inside Cromac, well, all up and down through the city limits of Homestead. And we've actually provided, in previous meetings, we've provided 2 alternatives for the bicycle path to go. So the commissioner was going to take that, and she was going to take the alternate route to the NPO and try to get some resolution. At the same time, we stopped with FDOT, Johnny Martinez, on the way back to let him know that we had spoken to the commissioner, and she was willing to put this in front of the NPO, and he needs that approval to do anything with these projects. So hopefully, Mayor, we'll have some feeling of where these 2 major issues are going to go, specifically inside the city limits. And if I believe there is a consensus to do this, especially since we raised as much cane as we have in the last couple of months. But I do want to publicly thank the commissioner, assuming we get it off on the agenda. But I think the commissioner really understood our issue. And one of the things that I think will help us with the alternate route is if we do have National Historic designation in the old part of Chrome, whether it be the Seminole Theater or whether it be the entire historic district. National recognition really puts pressure on the players to get that traffic, that heavy use traffic off of Chrome, specifically in the historic district. So if there is a success rate in the national recognition of the Seminole Theater and or the historic district, it really adds a lot of pressure to FDOT to come through with these issues. And one of the things that Mr. Martinez said could the city put up any money up front? And I said, wait a minute. We want to get this thing fast-tracked, but any kind of monetary issue, nobody knows yet. I mean, we're facing a lot of issues, but I'm very favorable, feel very comfortable about what I think we're going to be able to see in the near future. And Ms. Kamali, I want to thank you for kicking those doors open. She knows all the players in all the right places when it comes to DOT, because that's your background. So thank you very much, and I believe that's it, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I just want the council to give, and the manager to give careful consideration to, at some point, reconvene a meeting to talk about these tax proposals in Tallahassee.
Yes.
Some of you may receive a resolution from the city of Sunny Isle, and they have taken a position, and I'll tell you that our representatives are asking me for our position on these tax issues. And I have my own personal position, but I want to make sure that we could jointly sit and come up with something that makes sense. Because right now, nothing in Tallahassee is making sense, but we want to make sure that we do what is right. And I'll be very honest with you, I agree that we need to revamp our tax system in the state of Florida. It's outdated. Now, how do you do it, and what can we recommend that will not only benefit the city of Homestead, but also benefit the taxpayers of the city of Homestead? So we just need to talk about it. So when Representative Saunders and the others up there that are working on our behalf, we can give them our input. So we need to do that.
Well, Mayor, I'm going out there next month by myself. By myself.
So hope we go with a message from the city of Homestead on what our position is on these proposals. So we really need to do that. I also want to just compliment the manager and the staff for the report on the accomplishment thus far. They were well done. I would only ask the chief in his section that he look at outlining all those grants that you've gotten over this past year. I mean, I didn't see an indication of the amount of grant dollars that you received this year, which is in the hundreds of, probably in the millions of dollars. And I think that's very impressive, and it's something that we need to do. The other thing, Mr. Manager, I asked for an annual report from the consultants that we're working with. But in addition to that, give some serious thought to sharing some of these accomplishments with the community in some form or fashion. I think we know about it, but I think the community need to know about it, because there's some major things that that you all have done over the past 12 months that have been is very impressive. And I know some people read the papers, but when you provide an executive summary of some of the major things you accomplished, I think it'd be very, very helpful.
Will do.
And there's a position on the Historic Preservation Board. Any citizen that is interested, please give your copy of your resume to the City Clerk's office. We're still looking to fill that board on the Historic Preservation Board. And that's all I have. Have a good evening. Thank you all for coming.